This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'm down at the Matchroom Gym today, delighted to be joined by the gorilla, John Ryder. John, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me. How have you been?
I've been good, yeah, just nice to be back in the gym, nice to see some familiar faces and just nice to be back at it.
I second that. It's nice to see all you boys back to work, getting ready for respective dates and waiting on the call. How long have you been back in, and how nice is it to be back around the boys and having that routine and that structure again?
Well, throughout the lockdown I've been training most days, running, cycling, a bit of S&C at home. But I've been in the gym 3 weeks, about 4 weeks now with the boys, just ticking over 3 days a week. Done a bit of sparring today with John Doherty, just helping him prepare for his fight in August. So it's just nice to get back in and keep my hand in and just work towards a date if I get one.
Now, a lot of fighters during this pandemic we've just sort of been through and we're slowly coming out the other side of, have been trying to motivate themselves. They haven't had their usual routine, their usual structure. How did you find it sort of working alone and keeping yourself motivated during that time?
So it's nice. It was a godsend really. I've got two young children and a partner, so it's nice to spend some good quality time with them and make time for a bit of me time for training. So it worked well. It was yeah. I mean, we're lucky in this sport. The years go by so quickly, and we end up missing out on things. So it was a blessing really to spend so much time with them and get along so well. So I'm glad to be back and back at it and looking forward to something big again.
You mentioned you've been sparring with the doc today, who's working towards a fight date. A lot of boys in the gym now are starting to get dates, a lot of them on fight camp. Have you heard anything with regards to when we could see you back in the ring, John?
I heard potentially October, so I'll just keep ticking over for the time being, and when we get some confirmation a bit nearer to the date, we'll start setting a full camp out and starting back properly. So I'm just looking forward to it. It's been, if we're fighting October, it'll be almost a year since I've been in the ring, so it's important to get out. I wanted a busy year this year. It's not to be, but get back in October with a big win and keep the ball rolling.
I appreciate you can't sit here and say who it is because that hasn't been officially announced, and we'll wait that announcement. But at the minute, there's a lot of domestic fights being made with all the travel restrictions and stuff. October seems a long way away, so you may have time to get someone in from elsewhere. What kind of a name can we expect for yourself?
I've no idea as of yet. I've just been told October, so couldn't even tell you the date. But yeah, no, whoever. I mean, I want a big fight, the biggest fight possible. Preferably one of the champions, but if not, something that puts me instead for a title fight next. I mean, I'd love to avenge all the losses I've had, so I mean, whether it be Callum Smith, Billy Joe, then I'd love to fight either of them.
Do you think going into the late part of the year, I spoke to you after the Callum Smith fight, both immediately after the fight and then when he'd had a bit of time to reflect as well. Do you think with travel restrictions and stuff like that coming into the sort of later part of the year, that could even be realistic, and a Billy Joe rematch as well, they are possible?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know they'd probably favour a unification with each other, but who knows? I mean, with the restrictions in place, and I suppose budgets are tied a bit with the lower capacities, and there might not be the money in it for a unification over here. So hopefully I could slip in, get another title fight and get a good win.
Now, after that Callum fight, that was the last time we saw you in the ring, and I'm sure you were a bit disappointed to lose that little bit of momentum. How quickly, though, after that fight, did it go from the disappointment of the result to having that fire and getting straight back in the gym and preparing for opportunities that may come off the back of that, because your stock did go through the roof that night? Yeah,
no, I didn't dwell on it too much. It's hard because you get asked about it, so you got to talk about it. But listen, at the end of the day, Callum Smith weren't judging the fight. He was in there fighting with me, and we was both in there to win. We've seen some horrific scorecards last year in British title fights, world title fights. So hopefully that can get sorted and we can get see some fairer results. But listen, yeah, no, it's hard. We had Christmas around the corner, so enjoyed the Christmas, got into the new year and was ready to go again, just looking for something big. Best fights possible is what I want now. Biggest names and the top names out there, and the biggest paydays really.
Now, I appreciate overseas fights on the immediate agenda, John, but you have spoken before about your hope of having a big fight in the US at some point. Is that your ambition for 2021 in particular, to get a big name out there? I know you spoke of a Danny Jacobs fight perhaps. Yeah, no, I mean, I was lucky enough in 2019 to fight on the undercard of Jacobs and Canelo. So I mean, yeah, I mean, Jacobs has come up to 168 now. He's a big name. Like I say, I want the biggest and the best names out there, and just the most meaningful fights for me. We're sort of waiting to see how the landscape will play out at 168. Billy Joe looked nailed on to fight Canelo. It looked like all we were waiting for was an official announcement. It now looks like Canelo may explore other avenues when boxing returns. That said, Eddie Hearn told us last week he hasn't given up hope of that fight happening. If it were to happen, you shared the ring with Billy Joe. I know Canelo's someone you've kept a close eye on as well.
Yeah.
How much of a chance would you give Billy Joe in that fight?
It's a real 50-50. Billy Joe's got the moves. Billy Joe is yet to lose in a boxing ring, and he finds his way around a boxing ring, and he's very crafty and cunning, and he seems to always find a way to win. So he's got the movement, he's got the speed of hand that could really trouble Canelo.
Now, we've spoken about the possibility of you having a rematch with him or Callum Smith. To go back to Billy Joe in particular, if that fight were to come fruition, obviously it's been a long time since you guys were last in the ring together, but what would you do differently, and how better a fighter do you feel you are compared to then as well? How much have you developed?
I think we both improved. You know what I mean, we've both had a change of trainer since. We're years older now and more mature and wiser, so I believe you'd see a similar fight to last time. We both don't give an inch, we both keep going forward, and he's a superior boxer, but what I lack in boxing ability I make up for in will, and I just think the fans be in for a treat.
Now, we've been down here today watching you boys go through your paces. I was watching you spar with John Doherty very briefly. We turned up at the back end of that session. John has got himself a day. How excited should we be about his potential?
Yeah, massively. I mean, he's young. He's early 20s. I don't think he's 21 yet. Super middleweight. I'm sure over the years he'll progress into a light heavy. But I mean, yeah, he can punch with both hands. He's had a shining amateur career, and I just watch his space for what he does in the pro ring.
What's the atmosphere like with you boys at the minute? Like the guys are working towards date. It seemed a good mood from what we've seen today. You've even got the likes of Craig Richards, which is sort of around your weight as well. I'm sure you're all pushing each other on. What's the mood like among this gym right now?
Yeah, no, do you know what? We're very lucky in this gym. We've got Ted Cheeseman. I know he's a light middle, but we all move around together. None of us take liberties. Ted Cheeseman, Felix Cash, John Doherty, Craig Richards, and we just get quality work all the time, and the sparring that comes down is second to none.
Now, there are a few fights announced in this table. I wanted to talk about Ted Cheeseman, who you just brought up. He's going to be on one of the August shows, the fight camp shows. We're going to see him in there with Sam Eggington. What do you make of that as a fight, John? A lot of people saying that could be a domestic fight of the year, possibly.
Oh, massively, because I think people are expecting just two bulls to charge at each other and just hammer away. But the chances are, if one of them loses their heads, that's what you're going to get. But if Ted can be sensible and box a bit more, then it should be an easy night for him. Not an easy night, but he should come away with a nice points victory. But I mean, Eggington's an animal, isn't he? He comes to win by hook or by crook, and the fans are really in for a treat there. And what a fight to put on the first show of the fight camp.
You touched on it there. I spoke to Ted about this before he left. Eddie Hearn's labelled it a war. People talking about it as a potential fight of the year. I asked him, is this a sort of fight that we could see Ted the boxer, though, almost like the Fitzgerald performance? Do you think Ted could make this fight easier for himself by not getting involved?
Yeah, I think you see what Ted did in the Fitzgerald fight. He turned the fight on his head, he boxed on the back foot, and I mean, in my eyes, he won it clearly, but the judges see it differently. But I mean, yeah, it's all down to Ted, and we know what Eggington brings. I don't know, maybe he might be working on something and changing it up a bit, but we know that Ted can box as well, and it just all depends what comes out in Ted on the night.
Now, you mentioned Felix Cash. He's also got Daysmith facing Jason Wellborn. Not easy to get opponents right now, but as far as opponents go, Jason Wellborn, very game, good domestic fight. What do you make of that fight, John?
It's a good fight for Felix at this stage of his career. I mean, it's good to be defending the Commonwealth title, especially with the travel restrictions and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's been good. I mean, Wellborn's come off some good wins and a couple of losses recently, but he's a good, credible opponent.
I also wanted to get your thoughts on Joe Cordina. He's not actually here today, but prior to this lockdown, he was sort of hinting at, being ready to knock on the door in world title contention, particularly down at super featherweight, where he's saying he's starting to really come into his own. Do you feel, based on what you've seen in the gym and you've seen in the ring with Joe, that he is ready for that next level now, that world level? Yeah,
I mean, it's hard because that was his first fight at super feather, but I mean, he boxed a great fight that night. Tanoko was no mug, but I think, yeah, a couple more around the European level, just work on the markers before he progressed too fast. But I mean, again, he's had a great amateur career, a real one to watch for the future, and he's got skills to pay the bills for days. I mean, what he can't do in a boxing ring ain't worth doing.
Now, John, I'm going to leave the final word to you, because I understand you're down here training. I'm sure you're itching to get away. I've just grabbed you after a session here. In the ideal 12 months, what would be the ambition for the Gorilla? What can fans expect to see, and what would the ideal 12 months hold?
Just get back into title contention, if not a title fight, and just fulfil my destiny and become a world champion.
John, thank you so much for your time. Pleasure as always to have you on Boxing Social. Best of luck. I'm sure we'll catch you when you've got official fight news.
Appreciate it. Thank you.